Well, I've been in a dark edit room with this project for a long time, so it's no surprise that I'm incredibly excited and honored to share our take on the life and work of this complex, supremely talented, one-of-a-kind artist. A friend of mine who's a veteran film distributor who's released hundreds of films fronted by legendary stars always tells me the greats are great for a reason. And it's true. We may not always be able to articulate that reason, but we sure know it when we see it. And hopefully you will see it tonight as we tell a truly terrific story about Liza Minnelli. There are, of course, hundreds to thank, but for now, I'd like to thank a few special people at Atlas Media who were by my side throughout. Our amazing jack-of-all-trades producer, Alec Goldstein. He edits, he shoots, everything. And our equally amazing co-producer and Liza fan, bar none, I should add, who first suggested Liza as the subject of a documentary to us, Dana Craig. Michael Feinstein, who you will see in the film, provided not just on-screen insight, but was also an irreplaceable resource throughout the process. As many of you know, he is the ambassador, actually the walking encyclopedia of the Great American Songbook. And for that, Michael, I thank you. We all thank you for keeping it alive. Thanks to my family. Especially my wife Hillary, who knows exactly how to brace herself when I get so obsessed about a topic that I could barely speak about anything else for days and weeks and months and years. My true better half. And a special shout out to my octogenarian parents and mother and father-in-law, who are 3 or 4 here tonight, and the other one, get well soon, Poppy. So now, and I've been waiting to say this for a while, what good is sitting alone in your room? Come here, Liza Minnelli. Thank you. Enjoy. Thank you for coming.
So my first question is, what was the starting point? What was the genesis of this film? How did this film come about?
Genesis of this film was Dana Craig, who is out there. And, we create a lot of lists of people who interest us. And Dana said, well, we should put Liza on there. And I said, absolutely, because I have kind of an interesting experience with her in that, well, first of all, I was too young to see Cabaret, but as I said, the poster looked so naughty that I just wanted to see it, even as a young kid. And then I saw her in Arthur, when I was younger, and I said, wow, what a great comedic actress. And yet, when I went back, I said, wow, she does more than comedy. It was incredible. So, cut to 2008, and I'm, I guess what's called a Broadway completist. I have to see the original people in their roles, like Yul Brynner, King and I have to see it. Carol Channing, Hello Dolly, I have to see it. So when Liza was going to be at the Palace in 2008, I said, I had to go. And I swear to God, I have never seen anything, a reaction like that. As many of you know, at the time, she had just come out of hip surgery, and there were some medical problems. And literally, she came out, and everybody was holding their breath. They didn't know whether or not she would have the oomph, what was her voice like, etc. And she came out, and I hate to, unlike Darren Criss, do a Liza impression, but she basically came out and did, one of her signature moves, and I have never seen an audience reaction like that. People, grown men and women, standing on the Broadway seats, tears running down. I have never seen anything like that, and I always remembered I noted, my God, she has some hold on her fans that I did not understand then. So one thing led to another, which led to another, and then when we reached out, we started talking to her. Her team said, by the way, she just found, like 25 hours of old footage in her locker. We said, okay, and they sent it over, some samples, and we still didn't know, were we gonna do it, did they like us? And we hit play, and my jaw dropped. I could not believe, you forget the talent, the explosive talent of her when she was at her height. And at that point, we went back and pitched this idea of focusing more on the 70s and her kind of growth as an artist. Sorry, I rambled, but that was basically...
No, not a ramble, amazing. You kind of started my next question. What I found really interesting about this film is that it kind of starts from the moment Judy passes. So what went into that decision?
Yes, you always, when telling a story on a film, try to fight the natural inclination to tell it chronologically. Back from caveman times, we're kind of pre-programmed in this kind of Jungian way to want to receive stories from the beginning to the middle to the end. So if I made this film that way, you probably would have walked out, because it would have been kind of, Liza did this, and then she won this award, then she sang this song. So we looked for a way in that was kind of unique, and as I always say, it sounds really pretentious, but it's actually the truth, which is, let the material speak to you. Don't try to go in and kind of impose your will on the material and say, ha, I'm gonna do it this way. So what happened was we started interviewing a lot of people, and they kept saying, Halston was really important, and Kate Thompson, you really gotta get into her. And then when we were with Liza the first time, she kept saying, oh, Kate Thompson, she invented me. Halston, he invented me. And that's when the idea came up, because the material in a sense had spoken to us that, the story of Liza is the story of allowing mentors into your life. And it sounds easy, but a lot of us kind of keep people at arm's length who could really change us. And I think she's one with such an open heart and open mind creatively to not only let people into her life who changed her life, but give them the credit. I mean, she's like the only star I've ever interacted with who said, no, I'm just the sum of the people who kind of invented me, and it's kind of extraordinary, so.
You were talking about how this kind of surprised you, her ability to openly talk about her mentors and really give them credit. What were other aspects when you were in the process of making this that kind of surprised you about Liza's story that you felt hadn't been touched on previously?
I think you think it was all effortless for her, and I know I've gotten into trouble saying this because, the word privilege is obviously bandied around a lot, both positive and negative. And she was an example of extraordinary privilege. You could not have more privilege than her, as hearing her tell stories about, Humphrey and Betty Bacall were next door, and they would go to the studio and hang out literally with, Fred Astaire. Gene Kelly taught her to tap dance. I mean, there was really no Hollywood baby that was more born with a silver spoon in her mouth. However, in studying her life, it's almost as if she had equal to, I will say, struggle from somebody who starts, let's say, at home plate and is up and is trying to ground the bases. She started on third base, but getting home was kind of really hard because of the expectations. I mean, you saw some of it in the film, movie stars don't look at you. How do you feel when people call you ugly? I mean, that's like unbelievable that she would deal with this barrage, people saying, you don't sing as well as your mother. Your mother was a more talented actor, and to deal with that was a really hard thing emotionally. So I think the idea that privilege is kind of, in her case, a double-edged sword was kind of a really interesting revelation.
One of the things that I really enjoy about the film is the balance between the voices speaking about Liza and then really just getting to hear her voice. I feel like so much of her life, and you mentioned in the film, is people speaking for her. So when you were in the process of putting together the film, how did you navigate how much, Liza, speaking for herself, you would put on screen?
Right. Well, the answer is always more Liza. I mean, that's, without question, that's the, look, it's fascinating once you get to know kind of and study Kay Thompson, how much she has of that kind of quirky, offbeat Kay Thompson personality. And she still has it today. She is very, very quirky, and I mean, we captured a little of that where she'll just say what's on her mind, and she's always funny, and she's always, you just want to hug the woman. I don't know what it is, she comes in and she says one thing and you just want to hug her. She's just that kind of person, and I think it's even said a couple of times in the film, like she makes you feel like you're a very, very, very close friend within 2 minutes of meeting her, and it's an extraordinary talent to do that.
Similar to how you start the film in an interesting place, you also ended at an interesting point in your career. How did you decide how you would kind of like end and wrap the film, I guess?
The beginning was the hardest part, because the beginning we had to deal with the Judy issue, okay? Because Judy is, enough said, bigger than life, her talent, her fame, and her shadow that she cast in many times of her life over Liza. So the question was how to deal with Judy. And eventually in the edit room and evolving with the story structure, it became pretty obvious that we had to get rid of Judy right up top. And this had to be Liza's story, and we do talk a little bit about it, and we do tip our hat to that issue, but it was really about moving, starting at the exact pinpoint moment that Liza started becoming Liza. And unfortunately, tragically, the answer is when her mother died, she really started to become the Liza that we now know.
And then the end?
The end? Which part of the end? There were, I feel like there were 3 endings. Look, I think the tail end, when she literally, in one of the interviews with her, and we always tried to make sure there was a piano in the room when we interviewed her, because very, very, typical of her, she was, now let's sing the song. And thank God Michael was there, and he was able to brilliantly jump on and do what he could do. And they were fooling around with different songs, and I had suggested "In the World Goes Round," and she just started singing it, and it was actually incredible because we had these 6'6" crew guys, gaffers and everything like that, and they were just like, oh, this Liza Minnelli film, whatever I have to do. And she started singing that song, and at the beginning, this was I think the second take, at the beginning she was kind of finding her way, and it was here, and then in the middle of the song, she's like, and the world, and she starts doing this, and I kid you not, I turned to the 6'6" guy, he was tearing, we were all tearing in the room. It is what you see, because she has that power. So as soon as she did that, it was like, that's the end of the film, because the world goes round and round, so.
One of the things I kind of love about the film, I'm actually switching my question. You were speaking about the music. One of the things that I really enjoyed about watching the film is that the music is it felt very Liza. Like every step of the way, it felt like I was enjoying myself and having a good time. You have these moments, these flows. So what was the process like, I guess, soundtracking Liza?
Yeah, well, part of it is archiving, like, every song that we want in the film and every time she's ever sung it. So Liza with a Z, you see kind of a montage of a couple different things. I mean, we have her singing Liza with a Z in Japan and Germany, everywhere. And it's kind of, after you do that log, you kind of watch all of it, and you basically start, I don't want to quote like what they said about Halston, but it starts speaking to you, because it really, really does. And a lot of it is the work, which I of course couldn't have done without Alex and Dana, because Dana's a walking encyclopedia of every single thing Liza ever wore, every phrase she ever said. So, the 3 of us would get together and say, this has to be it. And there's something she had to sing maybe this time. So the question is, well, she sung it 3,000 times, where do you use that? What rights are available is also an issue. But the one that we used was from the Dick Cavett show, and of all the ones we saw, there was something so sad and profound and brilliant about her performance in that just, you know, again, brought us to tears. We cried a lot. And she has the ability to do that, so that's how we would choose each and every song.
How long was the interview process with Liza?
The interview process went on a couple of times over about 18 months. So we did a main interview, then we went to her house and just hung out, and then we went back to her house and hung out. So there was the formal interview, and then there were a bunch of very kind of more informal stuff where we were able to capture her, you know, like when she was grabbing our cameraman's camera. I think Dave West is in the audience. He went nuts because it's like a real expensive camera, and she was grabbing it and twisting it and putting her finger on the $10,000 lens, you know. But we got a great little moment from that. So,
where the
And I guess, like, my final question is, what do you want people to see, to learn about Liza when they're watching this? What do you hope people finally can see through your film?
I think two things. One is a corrective to, I think there's a natural inclination. We are very, very harsh with our great legends and icons. When they get to be a certain age, we kind of very conveniently forget that they were fucking geniuses back then. So I think that is something that hopefully people take away. And the other thing is what I said at the beginning, the power of mentorship to change us. I wish, looking back, I had more mentors in my life like Liza did. And my God, you see what they did for her and how they were able to take, you know, this kind of, these germs of talents and just ready to explode and erupt, and just know where to press the button and what to say to allow her to just, you know, blossom, and she did, so.
Well, I want to say thank you. I'm actually a massive Liza fan, so I just want to say thank you so much. We're all Liza fans.